What if one dinner, one fleeting glance, sparked a fire that dissolved every boundary you thought you'd never cross? Stay with me, because this story will pull you in, wrap you in its warmth, and leave you wondering where you'd draw your own line. The evening began innocently enough in our cozy Denver dining room, or so I thought. But as the night unfolded, a realization washed over me, slow at first, then all-consuming, like a tide pulling me under. This wasn't just a thank you dinner anymore. It was something deeper, something unspoken, humming in the air between us. When I looked up, their eyes locked onto mine, and I felt it. James and Ethan were ready to step into a space I'd never dared to imagine. The dishes sat untouched on the table, forgotten as the evening stretched into something heavier, more charged. I leaned back in my chair, wine glass in hand, feeling the weight of their gazes, warm and deliberate, stirring something inside me. Somewhere between the second bottle of wine and their lingering compliments, their looks had shifted. Less polite, more intentional, carrying a quiet intensity that made my pulse quicken. "You know," Ethan said, stretching with a casual ease that felt too calculated, "it's honestly incredible that someone like you is out here living alone." James nodded, swirling the last of his drink, his eyes steady, unwavering, like he was seeing me for the first time. "Seriously, you handled that move to Boulder like it was nothing, and still put together this amazing dinner. Is there anything you can't do?" I smiled, slow and deliberate, letting their words settle over me like a warm breeze. I didn't shy away from their attention. I leaned into it, savoring the way it made me feel seen. "Plenty," I said, standing to gather their plates, my blouse catching just enough to draw their eyes. I didn't adjust it, letting the moment linger. "But I'm figuring it out." James let out a soft chuckle, his gaze following me, warm and curious. "No way someone let you go," he said, his voice low, carrying a hint of admiration. "You must have walked away on your own." I didn't respond, just turned toward the kitchen, my steps unhurried, my movements carrying a subtle sway. I could feel their eyes on me, warming the room like a spark catching kindling, igniting something I hadn't expected but couldn't ignore. When I returned, I didn't sit. I leaned against the doorway of our Aurora home, wineglass in hand, studying them with a quiet confidence, testing the air between us. The dining room felt smaller now, the space charged with an energy I couldn't name but could feel in every fiber of my being. "I'll be honest," I said, my voice low, teasing. "It's been a while since I've had two people at my table making me feel this, noticed?" Ethan's eyes locked onto mine, sharp and focused, like he was seeing straight through me. "Then someone's been missing out," he said, his tone steady but carrying an edge of intent that sent a shiver down my spine. "Big time," James added, his voice quieter, heavier, like he was weighing every word, every glance. I took a slow sip of wine, my pulse climbing, not just from the drink, but from the way they leaned closer, as if I'd cracked open a door they'd been waiting to step through. "Maybe I've just been waiting for the right company," I said, letting the words hang in the air, heavy with possibility. "You know, the kind who move together, who understand each other without saying a word." The words landed like a spark, igniting the tension in the room. Ethan eased back slightly, but his gaze stayed sharp, unwavering, like he was waiting for my next move. James set his glass down with a soft clink, a slow grin tugging at his lips, his eyes never leaving mine. Their silence was loud. They weren't pulling back. They were waiting for me to lead the way. I pushed off the wall, moving toward them, each step stretching the moment taut, the air growing thicker with anticipation. I stopped between them, my fingers brushing the back of James's neck as I passed, a fleeting touch that drew a quiet breath from him, soft but unmistakable. Then I turned to Ethan, standing close enough to feel the warmth radiating from him, the space between us electric, alive with possibility. "You two want dessert?" I asked, my voice soft, deliberate, carrying a weight beyond the words. Ethan's gaze dropped to my lips, his voice low and steady. "I think we've got room for something more." I smiled and then I kissed him. His lips met mine, warm and eager, like he'd been holding back all night and finally let go. His hand slid to my waist, pulling me closer with a quiet intensity that made my heart race. The connection between us immediate and undeniable. I leaned into him, savoring the warmth, the way it felt to be wanted so fully in that moment. James stayed silent, but I felt his presence, his eyes on us, adding to the charge in the room, a quiet weight that made the moment feel even more alive. The kiss deepened, my hands resting lightly on Ethan's shoulders, feeling the warmth beneath his shirt, the steady rise and fall of his breath. I didn't rush, letting my fingers trace the lines of his frame, each touch a quiet acknowledgement of the connection building between us. He exhaled, a soft sound that carried the weight of the moment. His eyes locked on mine like I was unraveling something inside him. I leaned in again, kissing him slowly, deliberately, letting the warmth of his closeness pull me under, my senses alive with the intensity of it all. When I glanced at James, his eyes were fixed on us, his breath quickening, his expression a mix of curiosity and something heavier, unspoken, like he was caught in the same pool I was. I held his gaze, a quiet challenge passing between us, and it was enough to shift the air. James stood slowly, crossing the room with deliberate steps, pausing close enough for me to feel the heat of his presence, the weight of his nearness adding to the moment. I shifted slightly, my hand reaching for him, inviting him into the rhythm we'd started. The air was thick with anticipation, our breaths mingling, the space between us alive with possibility. I moved between them, a kiss for Ethan, a touch for James, each gesture deliberate, drawing them closer, weaving us into something shared. Their responses were quiet but intense, each leaning into the connection, their presence grounding me even as my heart raced. I was caught in the rhythm of it, past hesitation, past the point of turning back, carried by the pull of the moment, the warmth of their closeness, the unspoken understanding that bound us together. Ethan moved first, his hands finding my waist, steady and sure, pulling me upright with a gentle strength that made my breath catch. He didn't speak, just guided me toward the living room couch, his touch purposeful, his eyes never leaving mine, like he was anchoring me in the moment. He sat down, pulling me with him, his hands resting lightly on my hips, grounding me in the warmth of his presence. I hovered above him, my heart pounding, caught in the pulse of what we'd started, the air around us thick with anticipation. Behind me, I heard James approach, his steps slow, deliberate, each one carrying a quiet intent that sent a shiver through me. His hands found my hips, warm and certain, guiding me forward with a touch that felt both careful and assured, like he was reading every signal I gave. I leaned into Ethan, my hands bracing against his shoulders, feeling the steady rhythm of his breath, the warmth of his skin beneath my fingers. James's presence was close, his breath warm against my back, stirring a warmth that spread through me, pulling me deeper into the moment. He didn't rush, his touch slow and deliberate, a quiet conversation that spoke of trust and connection. I let myself move with them, my body responding to their closeness, my senses alive with the rhythm we were building together. Ethan's hands slid up my back, anchoring me, his breath warm against my cheek as he murmured soft words, encouragements, quiet affirmations that made my heart swell with the intensity of the moment. James's touch was steady, guiding, each movement a shared understanding, a quiet promise. I felt suspended between them, caught in a rhythm that was both overwhelming and grounding, my breath quickening as the connection deepened, pulling us closer. I didn't want it to stop, didn't want to lose the warmth, the connection, the way we moved together, each moment building on the last, weaving us into something seamless. The air shifted and James paused, his presence lingering but giving me space to breathe, to feel the weight of the moment. Ethan's arms opened, and I turned into him, settling closer. my movements slow and deliberate, my heart still racing from the intensity of it all. My hands found his chest, fingers spreading wide, grounding me as I leaned into him, feeling the warmth of his skin, the steady beat of his heart beneath my touch. I moved with him, setting a pace that was both hungry and measured, each motion a way to hold on to the moment, to etch it into my memory. His hands rested lightly on my back, pulling me closer, his breath warm against my neck, sending shivers through me that deepened the connection. James was there too, his presence steady, close, adding to the weight of the moment, like a quiet anchor in the storm of emotions. I reached for him instinctively, my hand finding his, drawing him into the rhythm we'd created, the connection between us growing stronger with every shared breath. I leaned toward him, my touch light but sure, feeling the warmth of his presence, the way it grounded me even as my heart raced. Ethan's hands guided me, his touch firm but gentle, while James's presence anchored me from behind, their closeness weaving us into something seamless, a shared pulse that carried us forward. Our breaths tangled, our movements synced, the boundaries between us blurring into a single, unbroken rhythm. I was caught in it, carried by the intensity, the connection, the way we were all woven together, unwilling to let go, each moment building on the last, pulling us deeper into the shared experience. The room grew still, but it wasn't quiet. It was alive, buzzing with the weight of what was unfolding. Ethan's hands rested on my hips, his breath warm against my collarbone as I moved with him, chasing the quiet sounds he made, each one pulling me closer, deepening the connection. James was there again, closer now, his presence steady, grounding, like a quiet promise in the air. I turned my head just enough to catch his eyes. No hesitation, only focus. A quiet intensity that matched my own. A shared understanding that needed no words. Ethan looked up at me, and I saw it. A silent signal passing between them. A shared rhythm that drew us all together. Then they moved, their actions seamless. Like they'd been waiting for this moment, Ethan's grip tightened slightly, grounding me, his hands steady on my waist, his touch a quiet anchor. James's fingers returned to my hips, guiding me with a touch that was both careful and certain, stirring a warmth that spread through me. My breath caught, not from fear but from the overwhelming awareness of what was happening, what I wanted, what we were creating together. James's voice came low near my ear, soft but firm, a quiet reassurance. "Breathe," he murmured. I did, letting the air steady me, grounding me in the moment. He moved closer, his touch deliberate, unhurried, the connection building with every second, like a tide pulling me under. My hands gripped Ethan's shoulders, my breath uneven, a soft sound escaping me, raw, unfiltered, pulled from somewhere deep inside. Ethan murmured something soft, his arms steadying me, his presence a constant anchor as James guided me from behind, their warmth surrounding me. They were both there, one anchoring me, one answering the longing that had been building all night, their closeness a quiet symphony of connection. They moved with care, not rushed, just enough to make my breath sharp, to send warmth spiraling through me, pulling me deeper into the moment. My mind quieted, my hands reaching instinctively. Ethan's chest, James's wrist, anything to hold on to as the rhythm carried me. Their timing was steady, a shared pulse that held me, not forceful but alive, a connection that felt like it could carry us forever. Every breath pulled me closer to the edge, the intensity building until I felt it, the brink of something ready to break, something overwhelming and unstoppable. Ethan's breath was warm against my neck, his touch grounding, steadying me through the storm of emotions. James's voice came again low and steady, a quiet reassurance. "You're doing so well." I believed him, felt it in the way they gave me space when I needed it, only to draw me back into the moment, their presence constant, unwavering. My body trembled, caught in their warmth, their closeness until I couldn't hold back any longer. "Don't stop," I whispered, my voice shaky but certain, a plea born of the intensity of the moment. "Please." And then it happened. A wave crashed over me, overwhelming, unstoppable, pulling me under. A sound escaped, raw and unguarded, as I let go completely, carried by the connection we'd built. They stayed with me, their presence steady, guiding me through the intensity, holding me as I trembled, their warmth constant, grounding. Ethan's hands supported me. James's touch anchored me, and together they carried me through, their presence a quiet promise in the afterglow. I sank into them, breathless, my body still humming with the weight of the moment, the connection we'd shared. We stayed there, tangled in silence, the air thick with what we'd created, the warmth of our closeness lingering like a memory. No one spoke. We didn't need to, the moment speaking for itself, heavy with meaning, alive with connection. That moment stayed with me. Not just what happened, but how it felt. The way it wove us together in a way I'd never imagined. No hesitation, no boundaries, just a complete surrender to the connection we'd built. A moment of trust and vulnerability that changed everything. So I'm asking you, if you were in that room, would you have leaned into the moment or walked away? Share your thoughts below. I'm reading every one.
Thank you for listening. Please share your thoughts, like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more.